He thought he could destroy me by taking every penny I had. He really believed I would fall to my knees and beg him to stay. But what he didn't know was, I am stronger than he ever imagined. So stay with me while I share my story. And if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. My name is Madison Carter. I'm a nurse from Phoenix, Arizona. I've spent years working double shifts, sacrificing weekends, holidays, and sleep just to build a good life for my husband and me. I believed that love meant trust. I believed marriage meant being a team. And I believed Tyler Brooks was the man who would always protect me, just like he promised on our wedding day. He had a way with words. He always made things sound like the best idea. When he told me that we should have a joint account for our future, our dream home, our children one day, our security, I agreed without a second thought. He said, "Babe, I'll manage all the finances. You already work too hard. Let me take care of that part." And I thought that meant he loved me. I put my entire paycheck into that account every month. Every shift I survived, every patient I helped, every drop of energy I poured into my job. It all went into that account because I believed we were building a life together. For a long time, I didn't question anything. He handled the bills, paid the rent, and always reassured me that we were doing great financially. But then little things started to feel off. He stopped letting me see the monthly statement. He changed all the passwords. He said I didn't need to worry about money, that stress wasn't good for me. I didn't want to think something was wrong. I pushed those doubts away. I told myself he loved me, and that meant he'd never hurt me. But love doesn't hide things. Love doesn't lie. One day after work, while Tyler was in the shower, my phone buzzed with a notification from the bank. At first, I thought it was a mistake, a glitch, something temporary. I clicked it, curious but not really afraid. Then I saw it. Balance, $0. I stared at the screen, convinced my eyes were playing tricks on me. That couldn't be right. My entire salary gone? Years of saving and planning gone? My hands started shaking as I refreshed the page again and again, praying the numbers would return. But nothing changed. Panic spread through me so fast I could barely breathe. I ran through memories in my mind. Every late shift, every exhausted night, every moment I believed we were planning a future together. Had all of it been a lie? By the time Tyler came out of the bathroom, smiling like everything was perfect, I already knew something inside my life had broken. And I also knew that the man I trusted more than anyone had just revealed who he truly was. And that moment was only the beginning. When Tyler came out of the bathroom, I was sitting on the edge of the bed, still staring at the bank app on my phone. My heart was beating so hard it hurt. I looked up at him and said quietly, "Tyler, where's the money?" He froze for a second, then smiled like I had just asked something silly. "What money?" he said. I held up my phone and showed him the screen. "All of it," I said. "Our savings. It's gone." For a moment, his eyes flickered with something dark. Then he laughed, an empty, cruel laugh I'd never heard before. "Oh, that," he said, walking over to the dresser like nothing was wrong. "I moved it. Into a private account. My account." I felt my stomach twist. "You what?" I asked, my voice shaking. He turned to me, calm and cold. "Madison, you're not very smart when it comes to money. I had to make sure you didn't mess things up. You just keep working your little job. I'll handle the real stuff." I stood up, trembling. "You took everything, Tyler. That was our money. You can't just..." He cut me off with a smirk. "Our money? Sweetheart, you're lucky I even kept you around this long. You really think I was going to let a nurse with a hero complex control my finances?" The words hit harder than I expected. Every bit of warmth in his voice was gone. He sounded like a stranger. "You've been planning this," I whispered. He shrugged. "Maybe I have. Maybe I realized a while ago that I could do better. I worked too hard to be stuck with someone who doesn't know her worth, or how to protect it." Tears filled my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "You promised me we were in this together," I said quietly. He laughed again, louder this time. "Together? Madison, there's no us anymore. If you want to leave, go ahead. But you'll leave with nothing. No savings, no home, no husband. You walk out that door, you're on your own." The room went silent, except for the sound of my own heartbeat. He grabbed his phone, texting someone, not even bothering to look at me. I noticed the perfume on his shirt. It wasn't mine. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a mistake or a fight we could fix. This was a setup, a betrayal years in the making. I felt something inside me break, not just my trust, but the part of me that still hoped he cared. I walked out of the bedroom, numb and shaking, while he called after me. "Don't do anything stupid, Matt. You're not built for this." He thought he had won. He thought I would fall apart and crawl back to him for help. But he didn't know that in that moment, as my heart shattered into pieces, something else inside me started to wake up. Something stronger than pain. Something he'd regret ever underestimating. The next morning, I woke up on the couch, still wearing yesterday's clothes. My head was heavy, and my body felt like it had been drained of every ounce of strength. Tyler wasn't home. His car was gone. For a moment, I thought maybe he'd just left to cool off, that maybe there was still a chance to fix things. But deep down, I already knew it was over. By the afternoon, my phone buzzed with a message from a number I didn't recognize. It was a picture, Tyler sitting at a restaurant, holding hands with another woman. My heart stopped. Her name appeared at the top of the message, Brielle. I stared at the image for a long time, unable to process it. Tyler wasn't even hiding it. He was out in public, smiling, relaxed, living his new life like our marriage had never existed. When he came home later that evening, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I showed him the photo and asked, "Who is she?" He didn't even flinch. He just smirked and said, "Her name's Brielle. She's an upgrade, Madison. You should be happy for me." The way he said it, so calm, so heartless, made me feel sick. An upgrade, I repeated, barely able to speak. I worked for us. I believed in you. He sighed like I was annoying him. You should be grateful I stayed this long. You've been holding me back for years. You don't think big enough. You settle. Brielle actually understands me. She looks the way I always wanted my wife to look. You just don't anymore. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The man who once told me I was his home was now tearing me apart piece by piece. And he didn't even care. That weekend, I went to his mother's house, desperate for someone to talk to, hoping maybe she would convince him to stop this madness. But when she opened the door, her face was cold. "Madison," she said, folding her arms. "Tyler told me everything. You should have been more supportive of him. Maybe then he wouldn't have looked elsewhere." I stared at her in disbelief. "You think this is my fault?" I asked. She nodded without hesitation. "My son deserves better. He's finally found someone who fits his lifestyle. You were never quite enough." Those words crushed whatever was left of me. I walked out without saying another word. I had no money, no family close by, and now not even his family wanted me around. That night, I packed a small bag and left the house quietly. Every corner of that place felt poison now. Every photo, every memory, every promise. I didn't know where I was going, only that I couldn't stay there another second. As I drove away, the tears came fast. The man I built a life with had not only stolen my money, but my dignity too. I felt completely empty, like I'd lost everything. But even in that darkness, a small voice whispered inside me, "You're still breathing, Madison. And as long as you are, this story isn't over yet." I spent the first few nights at my best friend Alexis Hall's apartment, lying on her couch with my face buried in a pillow. The city noise outside didn't bother me. It actually helped me drown out the silence that had filled my life. Every night, I cried until my eyes burned. Every morning, I woke up feeling like I was stuck in someone else's nightmare. Alexis didn't push me to talk. She just made me tea, let me cry, and sat beside me. But one night, after watching me break down for the third time that week, she finally said, "Maddie, you can't let him win like this. Men like Tyler only win if you stay down." Her words hit me hard. I wiped my face and looked at her. "He took everything," I said quietly. "What do I even have left to fight with?" She leaned closer. "You still have your name, your strength, and the truth. He may think he's untouchable, but no one who steals like that is clean. You need to talk to someone who knows the law." The next day, Alexis helped me make an appointment with a lawyer. I didn't even know what I was hoping for, maybe just some advice or a way to understand how much damage Tyler had done. But when I sat across from the attorney, a calm older man named Richard Hayes, the conversation changed everything. After listening to my story, he leaned back in his chair and said, "Madison, if what you're saying is true, your husband didn't just take your money. He committed financial fraud." I frowned, confused. "Fraud? But it was our joint account." "Yes," he said, not. "But if he transferred joint marital assets into a private account without your consent and used them for personal gain or to conceal them before divorce, that's a crime. He can't legally do that." For the first time in weeks, something inside me sparked. Hope. "You mean, I can fight this?" Richard gave a small smile. "You absolutely can. And I'll help you. But you need proof, bank records, messages, anything that shows he moved that money without your approval." That night, I went back to Alexis's apartment and started digging. Every receipt, every screenshot, every old message, I saved it all. Each piece of evidence reminded me of the lies Tyler had told, and with every one I found, I grew a little stronger. It wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It wasn't about love lost or dreams ruined. This was bigger than emotions. Tyler hadn't just broken my trust, he had broken the law. When I finally looked at myself in the mirror that night, my eyes were still red, but something new had appeared behind them, fire. The kind that comes when you realize you're done being the victim. Tyler thought he had buried me under debt and humiliation. But he forgot something important. When you push someone to rock bottom, the only place they can go next is up. And I was ready to rise. After meeting with the lawyer, something inside me shifted. I stopped crying. I stopped asking why. Instead, I started watching, listening, and quietly collecting every piece of truth that could turn against Tyler. I moved carefully, as if every step might give me away. During the day, I went to work like nothing was wrong. At night, I went through my files and phone, saving every receipt, text message, and bank statement I could find. I searched through old emails, credit card alerts, and even old notes he had written about future investments. Every clue mattered now. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing except Alexis. She became my anchor, keeping me calm when anger tried to take over. "Keep your head down," she would remind me. "Don't let him see you coming." And that's exactly what I did. When Tyler called, I answered politely but with little emotion. I made my voice sound tired, defeated, just the way he expected me to be. I let him believe I was still broken. He talked down to me, bragged about how well he was doing, how Brielle made him feel alive. I pretended to care. I pretended to be weak. "Maybe one day you'll realize I was right," he told me during one of those calls, his tone dripping with arrogance. "You can't survive without me, Maddie. You're not built for that kind of life." I smiled silently, knowing something he didn't, that I already had a lawyer preparing a case against him, that every word he said, every lie he told, was being documented. Meanwhile, Tyler kept showing off. He bought a new car, took Brielle on expensive trips, and posted photos of their new life together like he was invincible. He even told his friends that I'd come crawling back soon, because I couldn't live without him. He had no idea that while he was busy celebrating his win, I was building my own. Late at night, I'd sit by the window in Alexis's apartment with a notebook open, listing everything I had collected so far. Dates, transactions, account numbers, text screenshots. I organized everything neatly, the same way I organized patient files at the hospital. It was strange. Revenge didn't make me feel powerful at first. It made me feel focused. It gave me a reason to keep going when everything else felt empty. I stayed quiet, never arguing, never showing anger when Tyler called, or when his mother sent me bitter messages. They thought silence meant surrender. But silence can be the loudest preparation there is. Every time I looked at the growing pile of evidence on my desk, I could almost hear Richard's words again. "You have more power than you think." Tyler believed he had stripped me of everything, my pride, my future, my independence. But what he really did was teach me how to fight smart. And when I finally struck back, he wouldn't even see it coming. It didn't take long for Tyler's new life with Brielle to start falling apart. At first, everything looked perfect from the outside. They went to fancy restaurants, stayed in luxury hotels, and showed off their new lifestyle like it was a dream. But dreams built on stolen money don't last long. Within a few months, his spending caught up to him. The car payments, designer clothes, and constant travel drained his account faster than he expected. He had no idea how to live within limits. He never had to. He'd always had someone, usually me, cleaning up after him. But this time, there was no one left to fix his mistakes. I stayed quiet, watching from a distance. My lawyer, Richard, had everything ready. He had filed the documents, gathered the evidence, and was waiting for the right moment to move. I didn't rush it. I wanted Tyler to feel safe, to think everything was still under his control. Then one afternoon, Tyler tried to sell one of the properties we had bought together, a small rental house under both our names. He needed cash fast, and he thought it would be easy. But he didn't know that Richard had already filed for a legal freeze on all our shared assets. When the paperwork reached the realtor's office, the sale stopped immediately. Tyler was furious. He called me over and over, but I didn't answer. Then he sent a message. "What the hell did you do, Madison? The bank says the house is locked under court order." I didn't reply. Instead, I sat with Alexis in her living room, sipping coffee, letting him panic. He thought I was still the weak woman he could manipulate. But now I had the law on my side. Later that evening, Richard called me, almost amused. "Looks like he just found out he's not the only one who can play this game," he said. Tyler tried everything, calling lawyers, arguing with the realtor, even reaching out to his mother for help. But nothing worked. Every time he tried to touch our shared assets, the court blocked it. His arrogance began to crumble. Meanwhile, Brielle started showing signs of frustration. The money wasn't flowing like before. The dinners turned into arguments, the smiles turned into sighs. Tyler's perfect little world was starting to collapse, one payment at a time. For the first time, I didn't feel weak when I thought about him. I felt calm. I had stopped reacting and started acting. That's when the real shift happened, not in him, but in me. He thought I was the victim. He thought my silence meant I was scared. But silence isn't always fear. Sometimes it's the sound of someone sharpening their strategy. Tyler was finally learning a lesson he had never expected. When you build your happiness on someone else's pain, karma doesn't need to knock. It walks right in. And this time, it walked straight through the front door of his new life, wearing my calm smile. The day of the court hearing arrived faster than I expected. I sat outside the courtroom, hands folded tightly, trying to calm my nerves. Alexis was beside me, whispering, "You've got this, Maddie. You've already done the hard part." She was right. The sleepless nights, the endless paperwork, the silence, it had all led to this moment. When they finally called my name, I stood up and walked inside. Tyler was already there, wearing his usual confident smirk. He looked at me like I was a nuisance, someone wasting his time. Brielle wasn't with him, but I could tell she had been. His expensive suit and new watch told their own story. He didn't look nervous at all. He still thought he was in control. The judge began reviewing the document. My lawyer, Richard, laid out every piece of evidence we had collected: bank statements, messages, and signed transfers showing how Tyler had moved money from our joint account into his private one. At first, Tyler tried to act innocent. He shrugged, pretending it was a misunderstanding. "Your Honor," he said smoothly, "I was just managing our finances. Madison knew about everything." But Richard wasn't done. He stood up and handed the judge another folder. "If that's true," he said, "then Mr. Brooks can explain why these funds were transferred directly into an account under a different name, an account also linked to his new partner, Brielle James." Tyler's face changed instantly. The smirk faded, and his hands tightened around the table edge. The courtroom went quiet. The judge looked at him sharply. "Mr. Brooks, do you understand that moving joint marital assets without consent constitutes financial misconduct? This is not just unethical, it's illegal." Tyler started stuttering, his voice breaking for the first time. "It wasn't like that. I can explain." But the judge had already seen enough. She turned her attention to me, her expression softening slightly. "Mrs. Carter, based on the evidence presented, the court finds in your favor." My heart stopped for a second as she continued. "You are hereby awarded the majority share of marital property, financial compensation for the losses caused by your husband's actions, and spousal support for the next 2 years." I sat there frozen, trying to process what she had just said. Tyler, on the other hand, went pale. His jaw clenched, and he looked at Richard, then at me, disbelief all over his face. The man who thought he could ruin me was watching everything he tried to steal slip right through his fingers. When the session ended, I stood up slowly. Tyler didn't say a word. He just stared at me, his eyes cold and empty. The confidence, the pride, it was gone. As I walked out of the courtroom, Alexis hugged me tight. For the first time in months, I could breathe freely. It wasn't just about winning money or property. It was about taking back the power he thought I'd lost. Tyler wanted to leave me with nothing, but now it was him who had nothing left. After the court decision, things started falling apart for Tyler faster than anyone expected. His confidence disappeared along with his money. He was ordered to pay me what he owed, and the legal fees alone drained whatever savings he had left. The lifestyle he had built with Brielle started to crumble piece by piece. At first, he tried to pretend everything was fine. He took Brielle out a few more times, posting old pictures to make it look like nothing had changed. But the truth always finds its way out. When the court's decision became public record, people started talking. His business partners backed away, and a few of his accounts were frozen for investigation. Suddenly, the man who once bragged about being untouchable couldn't even pay the rent on his luxury condo. Brielle didn't take long to notice. The dinners stopped. The gifts stopped. The trips stopped. She wasn't used to living without comfort. One evening, when Tyler came home, he found her packing her things. "Where are you going?" he asked, his voice desperate. She didn't even look at him. "You lied to me," she said flatly. "You told me you had money. You told me this was your property, your success. But everything you had came from her." Tyler tried to stop her, but she was already done. "I'm not going down with you," she said coldly before walking out the door. That was the last time he saw her. After that, everything spiraled. His family, who once treated me like I was beneath them, suddenly wanted nothing to do with him. His mother, Linda, refused to answer his calls. When he finally reached her, she told him sharply, "You embarrassed this family, Tyler. You made your bed, now lie in it." He lost his apartment, his car, and his reputation. He started staying at motels, looking like a completely different man, tired, unshaven, and angry at the world. That's when the messages started. Late at night, my phone would buzz. At first, I ignored them, but they kept coming. "Maddie, please. I messed up. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I need to see you. Just talk to me." The same man who once laughed in my face now begged for mercy. I didn't reply. Not once. I didn't know him words anymore. After a few days, the messages turned bitter. He accused me of ruining his life, of being heartless. But I didn't let his guilt pull me back. I blocked his number, deleted his messages, and let silence be my final answer. Sometimes I wondered if he ever understood the weight of what he'd done. Maybe he thought karma was just a story people told. But now he was living it, broke, alone, and unwanted. Everything he did to break me had come back to destroy him. His downfall wasn't an accident. It was the reflection of his own cruelty. And while he sat in the mess he created, I finally walked free from the pain he once made me live in. Months passed after the court case, and slowly, life began to feel lighter. I was still living with Alexis, but things were changing. The sadness that once followed me everywhere started to fade. One morning, I woke up, looked out the window, and realized I didn't feel broken anymore. I felt ready to start again. With the settlement money, I decided to buy a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. The first night I slept there, I cried. Not because I was sad, but because for the first time in years, I felt safe. There were no arguments, no lies, no tension in the air. Just peace. I began rebuilding piece by piece. I went back to work with new energy. My patients noticed the change too. One of them even said, "You seem lighter, Madison." They were right. I wasn't carrying his shadow anymore. After a few months, I enrolled in college to become a nurse practitioner. It was something I had always wanted to do, but Tyler used to tell me it was a waste of time. Now, without anyone holding me back, I was finally chasing it. Balancing work and studies wasn't easy, but it gave me purpose again. Every exam I passed felt like reclaiming a part of myself he tried to take away. I also started therapy. At first, I didn't want to. I told myself I could handle it alone. But Alexis pushed me gently, reminding me that healing isn't weakness, it's growth. My therapist helped me untangle years of emotional knots. She taught me how to forgive myself for trusting the wrong person and how to stop carrying guilt that never belonged to me. Each session helped me see the truth more clearly. My worth had never depended on Tyler or his approval. I wasn't weak for loving him. I was strong for surviving him. As time went on, I started to enjoy the small things again. Cooking dinner for one, walking to the park after work, reading on my balcony while the sun went down. It wasn't an extravagant life, but it was real and peaceful. One evening, Alexis came over with a bottle of wine to celebrate my college acceptance letter. She looked around my apartment and smiled. "You know, Maddie," she said, raising her glass, "you didn't just survive, you rose." I laughed softly, feeling my eyes fill with tears. "I couldn't have done it without you," I said. She shook her head. "Oh, you would have. I just reminded you who you were." That night, after she left, I sat on my couch and looked at the quiet glow of my new home. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't defined by pain. I was defined by how I got back up. I wasn't the same woman Tyler had tried to break. I was stronger, wiser, and finally free. It had been almost a year since the divorce was finalized when Madison saw him again. She wasn't expecting it. She was driving home from work, tired but content, when she stopped at a red light near an old motel. That's when she noticed a familiar figure sitting outside on the curb, head hanging low. It was Tyler. For a moment, she froze. He looked nothing like the man she once married. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair unkempt, and his eyes empty. There was no arrogance left, no charm, no confidence. Just a man who had lost everything, because of himself. Tyler noticed her car and quickly stood up, waving his hand as if seeing a lifeline. Madison hesitated, then rolled her window down halfway. He walked up, forcing a weak smile. "Maddie," he said softly, "I've missed you. I've been thinking a lot. I made mistakes, but I can change. Please, can we talk?" His voice trembled, almost like the same man who once promised to protect her forever. But Madison saw right through him now. She didn't feel anger anymore, just clarity. "You're living here?" she asked, glancing toward the motel behind him. He nodded, embarrassed. "Things didn't go the way I thought. Brielle's gone. My mom stopped talking to me. I don't know where I went wrong." Madison stepped out of her car, standing tall and calm. "You went wrong when you thought destroying me would make you powerful," she said. "You took my money, my trust, and my peace, but you forgot something, Tyler. I was never the weak one." He swallowed hard, his eyes pleading. "Maddie, please. I can't do this without you. We can start over." She looked at him for a long moment, the same man who once made her doubt her worth. But now all she felt was freedom. "You tried to take everything from me, Tyler," she said softly but firmly. "But you forgot, I am everything." She turned, got back into her car, and closed the door without another word. As she drove away, she glanced in the mirror one last time. Tyler was still standing there, watching her go, realizing that the woman he once controlled had become untouchable. Madison didn't need revenge anymore. She didn't need to prove anything. The universe had already handled that for her. His downfall wasn't her doing. It was his own choices catching up to him. Karma had a way of finding people like Tyler. When Madison got home, she poured herself a cup of tea and sat by the window. The sunset filled her apartment with golden light, and she smiled. This was what winning looked like. Not money, not power, but peace. She had rebuilt her life from ashes, turned pain into strength, and walked away with her dignity intact. Madison didn't just survive the storm. She became it. And as for Tyler, he finally understood what true loss felt like. Karma didn't just catch him. Madison delivered it herself.